Well, I'm this film kind of goes all over the globe a little bit. It's a
Oh,
more traditional adventure globetrotting film. So this is Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol from
oh.
2011. This is directed by Brad Bird, starring Tom Cruise, Jeremy Renner, Paula Patton, Simon Pegg, and Michael Nyquist. And the plot summary is the IMF is shut down when it's implicated in the bombing of the Kremlin, causing Ethan Hunt and his new team to go rogue to clear their organization's name. So, like I said, kind of at the outset here, like this is a more, traditionally thought of adventure film. I think I definitely wanted to include one of those films on my list. I think this
Mhm.
film, though, for specific reasons why I chose this one in particular that I'll kind of get into. But yeah, I'm assuming you've seen this movie.
Oh yeah, I'd
Yeah.
seen it before. I think when it came out, made a big impression on me also because it takes place in India, part of it,
Yes. Yeah.
and
Yeah. Got Mumbai in
has,
there.
yeah, and has like this Indian superstar, the same guy who was in Slumdog,
Yeah,
kind
that's
of
right.
conducting the game show in this too, in this like really weird role. But yeah, I just remember laughing at the whole thing,
Yeah.
but also kind of feeling, I don't know, when you see, a place that you're familiar with sort of shown like that in such a huge movie, you cannot not help but just, feel a little bit of giddiness towards
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and of course, I love all the Mission Impossible movies. So yeah, I was happy to see this on the list.
Nice, nice. I'm glad you enjoyed the rewatch. Yeah. So for me, I think there's sort of traditional things in this film that I associate with adventure all around the world. Like I said, takes place in Moscow and Hungary and Dubai and like you mentioned, India. And in travel and going around the world is a thing that I associate with being adventurous. There's also actually both of your two films, The Mummy and Mad Max, also had to do with like big desert vistas. And this film
Oh,
also has some of that. And for some
yep.
reason, I don't really know why I associate sand in the desert with adventure. I don't know.
Same.
It's
Me too.
I
Some
don't
people
really know
might
why.
say yeah, ocean or like
Jungle.
tropical rainforest,
Yeah.
jungles. Yeah. No, I don't think of that. I think of the desert.
Yeah, I don't know why, but this
I don't know
scene,
why.
this sequence, there's a sequence in this film that takes place in Dubai, kind of like the highlight of the film. But there's, obviously
Hmm.
there Dubai's in the desert, and there's even a huge sandstorm. So there are all those reasons that I felt this film should be discussed. But really, the reason why this Mission Impossible film in particular, because a lot of the Mission Impossible movies have these same globe trotting all
Right.
over the world. There's a desert scene in the Rogue Nation film. But this one in particular, I think, touches a lot on what I find is unique about this film, but then also how it touches on adventure is there's a theme running through this film of things going wrong and not up to plan. So they have all these plans, and every time they try to execute it, something goes wrong. And they have to improvise.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, a sense of adventure is being okay with stuff messing up, not going to plan, not freaking out over it. They're just like, okay, well, now we got to do this instead. Even from the opening scene, they're trying to rescue the IMF team, Tom Cruise, from a prison in Moscow, and their plan was just to get Tom Cruise out. But he was like, no, I got to get, some other guy that I met in prison out too. He's changing the plan as he goes. He's improvising, and they all just have to kind of go with him to get both Tom and this other prisoner out. And like I mentioned, things break. Like in even the classic, this tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds, like they do in every Mission Impossible film.
Right.
This one, the tape doesn't immediately, and it's sort of breaking. And then there's
Right.
a little joke. They play it for a laugh, but it still is like Pitts gets in with this theme. And then I have to talk about before I get into Tom Cruise, which is another element of this film I want to mention too. But the big moment is him scaling the Burj, the big tower in Dubai. And that scene, actually, he's not meant, the plan was not for him to go outside of the building and scale it to go up to the other floor. They were just going to hack this computer that was like 20 floors up. And that was the plan. And then they get there and they realize, oh crap, we can't hack it.
Oh wow.
We have to change the original plan of what this is doing now. Well, we got to go outside. And there's this whole scene where like, well, I don't want, like, no one really wants to do it, but Tom's like, fine, I got to do it. It's for the mission, right?
You mean
So,
in real life
oh no,
or
I'm
in the
sorry. In the
movie?
film, the context of the film.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I was
sorry.
like,
In the
what?
story. Yeah, no. This was planned out actually before. I think the whole script was built around this concept actually.
Yeah, that
But
makes more sense.
yeah, so the characters have to improvise, right, and do something that is unexpected, and things even go
Yeah.
wrong when he's climbing the thing. So, like
Yep.
for me, that does that do you connote like adventure with improvisation and kind of things. You kind of get what I'm saying here. Does that resonate with you too?
Totally, 100%. That totally resonates. And yeah, the movie from the get-go is that. And I was wondering about that throughout the movie, that, oh, why did Alex put this one on the list as opposed to any of the other ones? And by the end of it, I was like, oh, I see. It's probably this. So resonates and is brilliantly done in the movie.
Right, right. No, okay, cool. I'm glad that you picked up on that thing too, because I do think it's unique. I mean, they don't deal with this in the other Mission Impossible
Not to
films.
this degree where
No,
it keeps
exactly.
happening.
Right, keeps
things
happening over
go
and over.
wrong, but not
Right.
like this.
Totally, totally. So just going back to the Burge sequence, and just the other thing I want to layer in here too is just Tom Cruise's persona. I think at this
Yeah.
point, starting really with this film, I think this film was the birth of the new phase of his career, and his
Exactly.
version of Tom as a movie star, and he's associated with doing crazy adventurous things. And this movie started that. And actually, I will say, I think, to me at least so far, this is still the most crazy thing he's ever done in a movie. This scaling the Burge and doing that for real. And obviously he was under, there were safety precautions there, but still there he is on the side of the tallest building in the world.
Pretty crazy.
So every time I see Tom now in these movies, I do get that vicariously live through his sense of adventure, knowing that he's putting his life on the line essentially to do these crazy things is inspiring to me. Maybe I'm not climbing the side of a building, or maybe not even jumping out of a plane like you have, but I want to introduce a little bit of Tom Cruise adventurousness into my life every so often. So I had to mention some version, a Tom film in this, because he to me is now the movie star that means adventure, because he's not only acting in adventure movies, he's doing adventures
Totally.
to film them.
It's so crazy that he's become this poster child of
Yeah.
adventure and what it means to push yourself, but also push yourself for art, which I know sounds super corny and just kind of highbrow in a weird sort of way, but he is able to sell it. And I know we already talked
Totally.
about Top Gun Maverick earlier, but
Mhm.
I feel like this year, or really last year, has sort of become this full circle moment for him, where despite all of his oddities and couch jumping shenanigans or what have you, we've sort of all as a society embraced him as this adventure person, and the sincerity and the hard work he puts in, come what may.
No, you're totally right. That's actually an interesting thing you hit on, that, in the next film I'll talk about, I'll kind of get deeper a little bit in this, but I think you're right. Like, Tom Cruise is doing this not for his own. I mean, yeah, okay, fine. It is professional gain, whatever, but he is doing it for art, or for, I even like to think, like, for me, for the audience. Like, he is
for the audience, the experience.
Right. He's not doing it in the selfish way. He's being adventurous for us. And yes, obviously he benefits from it too, but I think that is also a key part of, when you think about what good types of adventures are versus, maybe more negative ones. I think doing adventures for selfless reasons and for other people is a better version of the trait of being adventurous, instead of just kind of being wild and crazy and using that as an excuse. So yeah, that's a really good point. I think Tom kind of does it for good reasons, and corny reasons. Fine. It's for art and it's for the audience. But yeah, I mean, I also just do want to say, like, I think this film is also just fantastic in and of itself. It definitely rebirthed the franchise, set a lot of the direction of where it's going now, with being more of a team effort. Continuity with the other films was never really done before this one, and now it's all a lot about that. Bringing in McQuarrie, who's a big key creative component behind the scenes, and really having a giant set piece stunt that really the whole film revolves around. And now they're, kind of expect that as an audience member. But this film kind of set the tone for that. And I think, Brad Bird also as a director, just fantastic job with a lot of the little visual flourishes. We were talking about the India sequence. One of my favorite shots in the film is this tracking shot the camera makes across a party.
Yeah.
And it follows a little jumping fountain as the water goes. And I'm just like, that's so cool. Like, that's the brain of an animator.
Yeah.
And that's what Brad Bird brings to this too.
It's very Mr. Incredibles right there.
Yeah, it really, and it's a sense of fun that he puts in his direction that also then ties back to our theme of adventure. Adventure is sort of a fun kind of frivolous thing that you do. So yeah, I think the film just holds up just in the canon of Mission Impossible and action movies in the last 20 years. Just fantastic movie.
I couldn't agree more. And yeah, even the Kremlin sequence. I mean, sure, the CGI is of that is probably not the best,
Right,
and
right.
the Sandstorm CGI is not the best. But
Mhm.
you know, that aside, and that's the thing I think which is special about this movie and everything that's come since in the series is that yes, there are set pieces, but they matter, you know, like they
Right.
are woven in the story that in a way that they elevate the stakes and you are in it. Otherwise, if this were just, you know, a big set piece, stunt to stunt situation,
Mm.
I don't think I would care. I don't think I would be as invested. And I think that's the other thing about this movie and the movies that have come since. And then, like you mentioned, the teamwork and the camaraderie between them,
Right.
the push and pull between them. Watching this movie again this time, I was actually pretty impressed by Jeremy Renner. I'm not, I mean,
Yeah.
he seems like a very nice guy, has gone through a very tough time lately.
He
So,
has. Yeah.
you know,
All the best to him.
that's got to be rough and all. But I've never really been a big fan of his, partly just, I hate to say, just don't like the face.
Fair enough. Yep. No, I know what you mean.
Sometimes
Yeah.
you just have that with certain people.
Yeah.
He's
I know
that
what you
person
mean.
for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in this movie, watching it again, I was like, he's actually very good.
Mhm.
And you know, keeps matches toe to toe with Tom. And I was very happy to see him in the movie. So good job, Jeremy Renner.
No, that's a good. Yeah. Good shout out, Jim. Red shout out. And again, we wish him all the best as he's recovering from his injuries.
Yeah.
Hey there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I cover a topic around important people, places, events, and moments in our lives, and then explore it through 3 of our favorite movies. Subscribe right now, or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.